Cancer, big thing, cancer, right? That's pretty scary. But you can prevent cancer 100% by, again, avoiding the bad things. Prevention is always easier. It's kind of like putting oil in your car before the engine burns up. You put oil in your car before the engine burns up. You don't wait until the engine burns up and say, well, let's put a little oil in there. Don't get all crazy about trying to get healed when you can prevent it. It's real simple, okay? Much cheaper, much less painful, and you'll add 25 healthy years to your life. Okay, next. CAT scans, which doctors will tell you are harmless, actually have 400% more radiation than they used to think you had. 29,000 new cancer patients every year, of which half, 14,500, die after just one CAT scan. You know, you can get an ultrasound, a high-definition ultrasound for $50. Tell you the same information. They can see the valves in the pea-sized heart of a little embryo, human embryo that's just a month old. That high-definition ultrasound, there's no radiation to it, no risk, costs $50. That CAT scan costs $4,000. Next. High-fiber diets do not cut colon cancer risk. That's another old myth. High-fiber diets do not cut colon cancer risk. This was a study on 90,000 nurses and 50,000 male doctors over a 20-year period, the Harvard Nurses Health Study. There was no problem. I mean, just high-fiber diets didn't help. Got the same rate of cancer from high-fiber diets to low-fiber diets. But when you ate a high-fiber diet, because of the risk of celiac disease, because fiber is usually wheat gluten or oat bran or something like that, it increases your risk of diabetes and heart disease and stroke and other stuff. Don't eat high-fiber diets. There is no benefit. In fact, there's unintended consequences that are not nice. Okay, next. Look at that. Fat doesn't increase your risk of breast cancer. You can actually eat 90% of your calories from fat as long as you don't fry it. Next. This was another study, only 15 years, I think a study of 15 years, Harvard Nurses Health Study, 90,000 nurses. You take a high-end multivitamin like our Mighty 90, not a one-a-day Centrum or something like that. It won't work because it only has like 32. It's the Mighty 32 instead of the Mighty 90. You take the Mighty 90, this reduces your risk of colon cancer by 75%. Are there any drugs that will do that? No. Next. Let's see here. Study finds very well done meat linked to breast cancer. You can reduce your risk of breast cancer, ladies, by 462% by eating your meat cooked medium or medium rare. If you cook your meat very well done, where it's burnt, where the fat is burnt, tastes good, but it's a killer. And the devil comes in many guises, including burnt fat. I mean, think about it. You know, hell, fire, and burnt. And I mean, that's the devil's sense of humor there. Okay, next. We've known about selenium being able to prevent and cure certain types of cancer since 1912. Since 1912, we've known this, and I had to sue the FDA. I sued the FDA and won in federal court. They appealed, and I beat them in the appellate court, and then they appealed, and they signed off on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court for me to be able to say that the trace mineral selenium can prevent certain types of cancer. The trace mineral selenium can help your body make certain anti-cancer substances. Just to say those simple things, I had to sue them 3 times in federal courts. But the truth won out there in that case. We were able to beat the FDA to death on that one. Thank you. Okay, next. This is just another thing on selenium. It was a big study out of the University of Arizona. Just taking 200 micrograms of selenium, 1/5 of a milligram of selenium. It'll reduce your risk of prostate cancer, men, by 69%, colorectal cancer in both genders by 64%, and lung cancer, whether you smoke or not, by 39%. Anybody who smokes and doesn't take the Mighty 90 with a little extra selenium is foolish, aren't they? Now, I can guarantee you, ladies, if you take the Mighty 90, you will never get prostate cancer. I can guarantee you that. Okay, next. Next. Oh, I love this one. Arsenic can prevent and cure certain types of leukemia. Arsenic. We've known it's an essential nutrient necessary to prevent certain types of cancer, certain types of leukemia since 1947. Isn't that funny? Okay, next. Okay. Preventing cancer is very easy. Once you get it, it's a full-time job to treat it as a chronic disease, and you can add 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years to your life when you have cancer, but you're going to be working 24/7 for the rest of your life. It's much better to prevent it. That way you have a life, right? It's much better to prevent it, but we can work with you if you do have it. You're salvageable through God's grace. Okay, next.
Cancer seems to be striking everywhere in our population these days. What do we have that we can help people that are facing the challenge of cancer?
Well, it's a great question. Back at the turn of the century, 1895, 1900, 1 out of 10 Americans developed cancer. Right now, it's 3 out of 5, and by the year 2050, it's projected 2 out of 3 people are going to develop cancer in America. The onset of cancer appears to be directly related to the amount of carcinogens. These are toxic waste either from agriculture or from the industrial waste that we find in our air and our food and our water and in the dust around us. And the lack of the ability to defend against these carcinogens, and the most common defense mechanism that we have, the one that we have access to in a very economical way, are the antioxidants like selenium, like the grapeseed extract, like the green tea. You're looking at vitamin E, vitamin C, beta-carotene, and avoiding fried foods and margarines and things that we have control of, eating as much organically grown food as possible. And according to the medical school at the University of Arizona, and this came out in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, December 25th, 1996. I mean, we're talking about a great Christmas gift to the American people. They did a wonderful study, 10 years. It was a double-blind study, 1,300 people. They gave the study group 250 micrograms, which is 1/4 of 1 milligram. And we're talking an itsy-bitsy amount of selenium. They just used selenium alone. Didn't change anything else. And by giving these people 250 micrograms, 1/4 of a milligram of the trace mineral selenium, they were able to reduce the risk of esophageal cancer by 71%, prostate cancer by 69%, greater than 2/3, colon and rectal cancer by 64%, almost 2/3. Lung cancer was reduced by 48% whether you smoked or not. And in a parallel study from the University of California, San Diego, 250 micrograms, 1/4 of 1 milligram of selenium, the trace mineral selenium, reduced the risk of breast cancer by 50 to 80%. And the same study showed that if you already have cancer, if you take 250 micrograms of selenium every day, you will in fact double the natural history life expectancy of a particular type of cancer. For instance, lung cancer, the natural history is about a year. Brain cancer is less than a year. Uterine, ovarian, colon, breast cancer is 2 to 5 years. Prostate cancer is 5 to 8 years. Well, just by taking 250 micrograms of the trace mineral selenium every day, 1/4 of 1 milligram, according to the University of Arizona's medical school, you can double that life expectancy just by doing that one thing. And so if you take the other antioxidants and give up margarines and fried foods and sugar and caffeine and avoid as many of the agricultural waste and the toxic waste from the industry that you can, you will be able to avoid an enormous amount of cancer. And if you already have cancer, doing other things such as taking the antioxidants and getting on macrobiotic diets and so forth, you can add many healthful years to your life. You can certainly have a better quality of life. And many people will extend their lives in a great way, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And obviously there's no way you can look in somebody's eyes and say, you're the one that's going to live 50 years. And so people just have to do all the right things, and they're going to get the best that can be gotten from nutrition and the supplements.
Doctor, can we talk about cancer a little bit? Various types out there. What are some of the things that you've seen in terms of your patients, and what some of the things that you've been able to do?
A better thing to talk about in relationship to, well, I will talk about that, right? A better thing to talk about, however, is the relationship between profits and cancer in the United States. There was a study that was published, I believe it was in 1994. It was a 12-year program, 12-year study. They looked at adults who had developed cancer as an adult, not childhood cancer, but adult cancer, right? And this is the main types of cancer that we get here in the United States. They did a meta-analysis of these people all around the world who developed cancer as adults for 12 years and were treated with chemo. And they looked at the results. And they published the results in the Journal of Clinical Oncology. And the results? 97% of the time, chemotherapy does not work. 97% of the time, it doesn't work. So why is it still used? It's one reason and one reason only: money. If you go to a medical doctor, an MD, with a sinus infection, and that doctor prescribes an antibiotic, he gets no financial kickback. Now, if he prescribes 5,000, of that antibiotic in 1 month, the drug company that makes it might send him to Cancun for a conference, right? Mm-hmm. But he gets no direct remuneration. It's not with chemotherapeutic drugs, it's different. Chemotherapeutic drugs are the only classification of drugs that the prescribing doctor gets a direct cut of. So if your doctor prescribes chemotherapy for you, here's how it goes, more or less. The doctor buys it from the pharmaceutical company for $5,000, sells it to the patient for $12,000, insurance pays $9,000, and the doctor pockets the $4,000 difference. And there ought to be a law. The only reason chemotherapy is used is because doctors make money from it. Period. It doesn't work 97% of the time. If Ford Motor Company made an automobile that exploded 97% of the time, would they still be in business? No. This is the tip of the iceberg of the control that the pharmaceutical industry has on us. Most people have no idea of this at all. Now, I wrote a book. It's called The MD Emperor Has No Clothes, right? In my book, I have a bulleted list of 10 questions that every cancer patient should ask their doctor. 10 questions. I've had patients kicked out, literally, kicked out of the oncologist's office because the doctor was PO'd that the patient was asking him these questions. And these are just common sense questions. Cancer treatment in the United States, we have lost the war on cancer. We have lost the war on cancer. Why? Because cancer is not a reductionistic phenomenon. Cancer is a holistic phenomenon. And when you try to bring a reductionistic methodology like drugs and surgery to bear on a holistic phenomenon, you will completely miss the boat each and every time. You cannot do it. Medical doctors are like colorblind art critics. They can see that that's a boat. They can see the black and white outline, but they're completely blind to all of the colors and textures that make up the substance of the thing. It's no difference with cancer. The reason that people get cancer in the United States and the reason that we have completely lousy outcomes is because medical doctors are driving the research bus. When women get together and do a 5K run for breast cancer, all of that money, do you think any of that money goes to nutritional research? Do you think any of that money goes to homeopathic research or acupuncture or traditional Chinese medicine or naturopathic research? No. All of it goes to drugs and surgery, which do not work. Now, why aren't those women running for selenium? If every girl in this country took 200 micrograms of selenium, in one generation we'd eliminate breast cancer by 82%. That's a big number. Why aren't we doing that? Because medicine in the United States is a for-profit industry, and most people are completely unaware of this, and most people bow down to the altar of MD-directed high-tech medicine at their own demise.